Hello, geometry friends. So, full disclosure, this lesson is so much better in person, but since that's not an option, we are going to do our best. So, right now, I am working on the lesson called Dilations off the coordinate plane. And prior to this, we did dilations on the coordinate plane, where in short language, you multiply the coordinates by the scale factor when you dilate from the origin. Well, what if I want to dilate from a point, but I don't have a grid? What do I do then? And that's what this lesson is about. Now, I'm going to switch software now and hope that it works out okay so that I'm going to have a ruler. You also need a ruler. If you do not have a ruler, take a moment to go find one because it's important for you to have it throughout this lesson. It is also important for you to have a compass. Now, if you don't have a compass, we can get by without it, but it would be better if you had one. All right, so if we are going to do this first example, what I have here is I have triangle ABC, this lower one here, and then triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, the bigger one. And it looks like I dilated, about 2-ish, but I'm not really sure because I don't have coordinates. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to use our ruler. Okay, I'm going to do it with a straight line tool, but you're going to use your ruler. And I want you to connect D through B up to B prime. And then I want you to dilate, D, draw a line from D through A up to A prime. All right. Then it says use a ruler to determine the following lengths to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. So now we're going to use a ruler, and I am going to use the centimeter part of this ruler, and I'm going to measure DA in D prime, A prime, or DA prime, pardon me. And let's see what I got. Now, my values are going to be different from your values, I think. I'm not sure about that because I don't know what happens when I use this ruler. All right, so use your own values. I'm going to use mine. You should use your own values. So if I measure from D to A looks like 5. And then D to A prime looks like 10. And then if I come over here and I measure from D to B, looks like I have 5 and 10 again. That's cool. So I have 5 and 10. Okay, and now I'm supposed to measure AB. So AB looks like it's about 8. And A prime, B prime, let's see, it's 15 to there. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that that's probably supposed to be 16. And again, I'm hoping you're measuring on your own and not just using mine. So I have all those measurements now, 5, 10, 5, 8, 10, 16. I'm going to bring it back here. And I had 5, 10, 5, 10, 8, 16. So was I correct? Did we dilate this with a scale factor of 2? I'm pretty sure that I did. So if I express, this should say dA prime and dB prime. If it does not on yours, write it. I think that's just a formatting issue. So if I want to express a dA prime to dA, that would be 10 to 5, which is really 2 to 1. dB prime to dB is 10 to 5, which is also 2 to 1. And A prime B prime is 16 to 8, which is 2 to 1. Which, I mean, makes sense. We thought we dilated it by 2. But what's interesting here about the dilation by 2 is, 8 became 16, which was great for the figure itself. But what also doubled is the distance from the center. This distance was 5. The new distance was 10. So those kind of invisible distances from the center also doubled. Okay, now what's our scale factor? Our scale factor is 2, and underneath I want you to write your scale factor is new divided by old. That will always get you your scale factor, new divided by old. All right, write the notation that would have been used to create this dilation. Well, when I write dilation notation, I need a center and I need a scale factor. Our center was point D, and our scale factor was 2. Then it says, imagine that point D wasn't shown. How could you find it using what we've already discussed? Well, what we just realized is that when I connected D to B, it also connected to B prime. When I connected D to A, it also connected to A prime. When I connect D to C, it's also going to connect to C prime. If you ever want to find the center, but you don't see it, you connect the preimage and the image, connect those corresponding points, and where those intersections occur, that's where your center is going to be. So you are going to connect, I can't write, connect, there we go, the pre-image to the image and extend, do this twice where the lines intersect is the center. I apologize for the messy handwriting. My screen is jumping. Connect the pre-image to the image and extend it. Do this twice, and where those lines intersect is the center. We'll have some practice with this. Okay, we're going to practice it right now. A prime, B prime, C prime is a scale drawing of ABC. Okay, I can believe that. Use your straight edge to determine the location of the center. Okay, so with your ruler, I'm going to use a straight line tool, but with your ruler, you're going to connect A and A prime and then keep going. So A and A prime connect kind of like that. And I'm supposed to keep going, but of course this is not cooperating. You know what? I'm going to do it by hand. You guys can do it with a ruler and watch me fumble here. So if I connect A and A prime and extend, I'll get there. And then if I connect C and C prime or B and B prime, doesn't matter, and extend, where 2 of those intersect, that's our center. And it says, find the location of center O used for the scale drawing. Okay, so there's O. So now I need to estimate the scale factor and write the dilation. Now, this scale factor isn't perfect, so we're just going to estimate it with our eyeballs and say, you know what? It looks like this got twice as big. So our scale factor is going to be 2. And if we write this with proper notation, I'm dilating from center O with a scale factor of 2. So if AB was 4, then A prime B prime would be twice that, which would be 8. And if BC was 5, no, it says if B prime C prime was 5, oh, then find BC. Well, I'd have to cut it in half to go in the other direction. So that'd be 2.5. Okay, so constant of proportionality, R is greater than 1. So if I want to dilate something that isn't already dilated for me, what do I do now? It says use a compass and a straight edge to dilate AB by scale factor 3 centered at C. Write the proper notation for this dilation. All right. So when we do this, you're going to need your ruler and your compass. Okay. And we are going to do this together. Okay. So it says use a compass and a straight edge to dilate it by a factor of 3 centered at C. Write the proper notation. All right, so if I want to write this proper notation, I'm dilating it centered at C with a scale factor of 3. And if you want to dilate something yourself, what we're going to do is first use a ruler, okay? And you're going to connect C to A and then just keep going. And then connect C to B and just keep going. So you connect your center to the points on your preimage and extend it. Now, if I want to dilate that by a scale factor of 3, now you're going to use your compass, okay? And I'm going to say, well, if I go from C to A and I open my compass to measure CA, that represents a dilation of 1. A dilation of 1 doesn't change anything. So if I dilate that by 1, I would end up right here. If I dilate it by 2, I would end up right here. And if I dilate by 3, I end up right there. In other words, draw as many arcs down the line as you need to get your scale factor. Okay, so that would dilate A by a factor of 3, making this A prime out here. Now I'm going to do the same thing with B. I'm going to come down here, measure from C to B. This would be a dilation of 1, a dilation of 2, and a dilation of 3. Oh, it went off, so what you want to do if that happens is just extend your line a little bit. Perfect. So now I have B prime, and now using a ruler again, I am going to connect A prime. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. I am going to connect A prime to B prime, and now I have dilated AB by a scale factor of 3. Okay. Then it says circle the ratios that will give you a correct scale factor. What you need to remember is if you want to get a good scale factor, you have to do new divided by old. AB over A prime B prime, nope, that's upside down. A prime B prime over AB, yep, that's new divided by old. A prime C over AC, yep, that would be the new distance divided by the old distance. AC divided by A prime C, nope, that would be old divided by new. Okay. And then it says give one additional ratio that could be used to determine the scale factor. Anything that's new divided by old. So let's see, I didn't do CB at all. So CB new divided by CB old would also give us a correct scale factor. All right. Now we've got dilate this by a scale factor of 2 centered at A. Write the proper notation for the dilation. What do you know? Okay, I got a lot of stuff going on here. So I'm going to grab this one and put it on my other page. And again, I apologize for the jumping. I know that this is not a perfect video, but I'm doing my best. I can promise you that. So dilate ABC by a scale factor of 2 centered at A. Write the proper notation. All right, so my proper notation, dilation, center, scale factor. Well, if I center at 2, that means those lines that I draw, I start at A as my center, and then I go to the old points and continue out. Start at A, go to the old point, continue out. So your center can be on your finger. Then you want to grab your compass and say, all right, here's the old AB. That would be a scale factor of 1. Draw another arc. That's a scale factor of 2. So I can stop. And this is now B prime. Go from A to C. Dilate by 1. Extend it. Dilate by 2. That is now C prime. And now if I connect C prime and B prime, whoops, didn't mean to do that. That purple one is the dilation of the original one by a scale factor of 2, but it overlaps the original, and that's totally okay. If your center is on your object, then part of the object is going to stay put. Okay? Now it says, what do you notice about CB and C prime, B prime? There's a couple answers to this. Well, one thing I notice is that CB is parallel to C prime, B prime. Another thing I notice is that C prime, B prime is twice as long as CB. And actually, I shouldn't have put that arrow over that first one here. Okay. What do you notice about the measure of ACB and AC prime, B prime? All right, well, where's ACB? ACB is this angle. AC prime, B prime is this angle. If those lines are parallel, Those are corresponding angles. That means what? Well, if I have corresponding angles with parallel lines, they're going to be congruent. So even though the side lengths get multiplied by the scale factor, the angles stay the same. That is extremely important, okay? In dilations, the angles stay the same. Okay. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. I know this is kind of a long video. Like I said, it's definitely better to do in class, all right? So we got 2 more examples and then a quick lesson summary. So if you can stick with me, we got this. Constant proportionality, R is less than 0, aka what do you do if you have to dilate by a negative scale factor? Very similar to what you do for a positive scale factor. So if I need to dilate this by center O with a scale factor of -1, I'm still going to connect an arrow from O and A. Normally, if I had a positive scale factor, don't draw this, okay? I'm doing this, you don't do this. If I were to use a positive scale factor, I'd go from O to A and keep going. I'm not. I'm doing a negative scale factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at A, go to O, and keep going because I know the new one needs to be on the opposite side of O. So I'm going to connect O and A and keep going, O and C and keep going, and and O and B and keep going. Then we're going to grab our compass just like we normally do, and I am going to measure from O to A. That's a dilation of 1. And then if I turn it to the line that extends, that's a dilation of -1. So this is A prime. Then I'm going to do the same thing for B. I'm going to measure from O to B, that far, dilation of 1, spin it to where B extended out to. There's your dilation of -1, and then the same thing with C. So I have this, extend it to the other side. There is C prime. And then if I connect the dots over here, C to B, B to A to C, I have dilated this by a scale factor of -1. Whew. All right. Good news. No more compass or ruler. It says a dilation centered at B of some scale factor turns A into A prime. That's how you read this, all right? A dilation centered at B with a scale factor of K turns A into A prime. Well, here's A. Here's A prime. A prime got closer, which means my scale factor is small. It's a fraction between 0 and 1. Well, A prime looks half as far away from B as A was, so my scale factor was a half. And A prime is closer to B. All right, now it says the pre-image was B, so this is my old point. My image was A, my new point. And if my center was O, what do I know? Ooh, weird. Well, okay, if I started at B and I ended up at A, if I end up on the other side of the center, I know I have a negative scale factor. And it looks like OA is closer than OB was. And I'm going to guess that this scale factor was probably -1/2 or maybe like -1/3. Okay. And in this case, I wouldn't ask it for you to give me an exact value. I'd just kind of be asking for an estimate. All right, what were you supposed to learn from this very long video? It says, number 1, if R is greater than 1, so that means if you have a positive large number for your scale factor, the dilation will push the point away from the center. If R is between 0 and 1, so like a half, a third, 3/4, the dilation will pull the point closer to the center. If R is less than 0, in other words, if R is negative, a rotation of 180 degrees will be applied to the pre-image. And I want you to add here, and it will end up on the opposite side of the center. When you turn it 180 degrees, your image and pre-image are on opposite sides of the center. Now, what if you don't have the center? To find the center of dilation, you connect two sets of image and pre-image and see where they cross. Okay, two sets of image to pre-image and see where they cross. For example, you would connect A and A prime. You'd connect B and B prime and see where they cross. And the side lengths of the pre-image are blank by the scale factor. What do I do to the side lengths of the pre-image? I multiply them by the scale factor. And you know what? I want to put down here scale factor. If you don't know what it is, it's new divided by old will get you the scale factor. All right, wowzer friends, I am all done. I hope that this made some sense to you, and we will talk again soon. Have a good one.